nice big circle, just smaller, right? Can you try just playing a piano on a G? Just a G. Let's see how really push your yeah. Do you hear a difference? So if you did that on some of these runs, not only does it support what your fingers are doing, and it really does help that, it also supports, your overall tone in those places. In a 3/4 section, there's some crazy things in there as far as fingerings go. And I know you start thinking like, oh my gosh, this part's coming up. And if you're using that air, your fingers kind of just start to go a little bit more. Okay, so don't back off from those sections just because the fingering is tricky and you're doing these and your pinkies are working. Push air through to help you go through there. And I think there was a little bit of a rhythm issue. I didn't get it down fast enough, but I think it was at 45 and 46. So yes, okay, so just check on that as you're preparing for state solo ensemble, because you want to make sure that you have that correct. And I think that's where it was. And it might have happened, I think there was a similar place before that. Possibly at 38, 39, 40. You're slowing down there, but I felt like maybe you were slowing down before you should have. Okay, so it might have been nerves, I don't know, but whatever it was, just check that part out as you're preparing, okay? Nice job today, thanks for playing. Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
There you go, Nina. Where are you at?
didn't write anything down. I was too busy watching and listening.
County High School. We have Keagan Ransom and Riley Conklin.
starting with a breath of air and not a 1, 2, ready, let's go, right? So it's just a leader, one of you just takes a breath and you start together, especially on a slower piece, but usually all of the time, right? Okay, we don't want to be counted off or count off like that in a performance. So why don't we try practicing that right at the beginning of the prelude? Okay, try it one more time. It was close. Yeah. And so you didn't even need to do the 1, 2, ready, go, or whatever, however exactly you did it. But it's just a nicer start, right? And then make sure throughout this whole section, well, the whole prelude, that you're keeping beat 4's full value, okay? And you're not cutting them off. Otherwise, you're gonna owe your band director like $150 every time you cut one off. That'd be a lot of money that you'd owe your band director right now, probably, right? Right? So you want to make sure that you hold them full value every single time. It's really important. And so it's easy to do that on the half notes, like in measure 6, or even that quarter note in measure 6, depending on what part you're playing. So just ending the phrases. And then I was starting to write, make measures 31 and 32 sound like your very last note, which was not rushed at all. It was just like this really nice, pleasant sound. But the measures leading up to it sounded frantic. It wasn't like you were playing them too fast or anything like that, but it just didn't have that same feeling. Can you try that? Just the last 2 measures of the prelude? Oh, wait. 1 and 2 and ready, play. I know you're trying to decrescendo that, aren't you? Yes.
Oh, a little bit, yeah.
Yeah. What if you don't try to decrescendo it as much? There's nobody here policing that you're at piano, exactly a piano, right? The piano is relative to what you've done in the piece. So if you can't play that softly, especially in that register of your instrument, you have to play out a little bit more. And if you play out a little bit more, you have to play out a little bit more because trumpets are going to cover up clarinets, right? So let's try it one more time. 2, ready, go. I still think we could play out a little bit more. So when you continue working on this, don't be so like this is supposed to be so quiet. Play it out a little bit more with a lot more air. Okay? Andante. While you played the notes and rhythms, the flow isn't quite there yet. Okay, so getting it to just feel like a natural flowing piece of music, it's not quite there yet, but it's close. So as you continue to work on this and play through it, it's just listening to each other and making sure we're perfectly in sync. Okay? Listening to each other. Have you heard that before? Because you get
That was like the biggest problem with this song. We always ended like 1, 2 measures apart.
Okay, so what's great about these pieces is that you have both parts, right? You have both of them. So you could take both parts and you could learn them both. And then you know what they sound like in your ears, right? So then you know what you're listening for. It's not a secret because it's right there. You could do the same thing on the trumpet. You could learn both parts. And it doesn't have to be perfect, but you could play through them a few times and be like, hey, that's what she's going to play, or that's what, you know what I mean? So it really does help to do that, and it's all there for you because you have both of them. There's no reason to not have a pretty good idea of what the other person's doing. And the march, be careful that your staccatos aren't too short, okay? That they're just like da 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 dee da 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 da, and we're not out to the races, okay? Just a nice march tempo, okay? Good luck as you continue working on these pieces, okay? And I hope to hear you again.